Hi, everybody. Mother Jamie here with your homily for the week. I also have an announcement and a promise. My announcement is that I am officially turning into Rosanna Dana. It's always something. If it's not one thing, it's another. So until I get a haircut, I'm going to be wearing a cap on my head. And now a promise. After my last couple of sermons that have been rather lengthy, longer than I anticipated, I promise this one will be shorter. Okay, today's gospel from John's Gospel, 14th chapter. The beloved, do not let your hearts be troubled. Believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house there are many rooms, dwelling places, mansions. Different translations use different words. But again, the official word in the Greek is more abiding places, which taps into both that Old Testament sense of hospitality, where travelers had to be given an abiding place for the night, but also what Jesus frequently talks about: abide in me as I abide in the Father and the Father abides in me. Mutual indwelling, that indicating that relationship of intimacy. And his I am the way, the truth, and the life follows Thomas's question, where are you going? How can we know the way? And again, Thomas speaks up when he misses the first post-resurrection appearance in John 20, and Jesus says, here, put your hands in my side. And he says, unless I touch, I won't believe. I won't have that relationship. And Jesus says, go ahead. So this passage from John 14 in the message today is very much kind of a companion piece to the sermon from the second Sunday of Easter, which was the story of what we call Doubting Thomas, from the 20th chapter of John, beginning at the 19th verse. So go back and listen to that message again, perhaps, to refresh your memory of how Jesus saying, I am the way, the truth, and the life, forms a kind of a bookend and companion message to the post-resurrection Jesus saying, put your hands in my side. That abiding place with God comes through the woundedness of Jesus. It is a relationship of sacrificial love that through Jesus we understand to be the nature of love and the nature of God. But today's message, which I promise to be short, is to consider what comes before Jesus says, do not let your heart be troubled. This is the farewell discourse, part of Jesus's big pastoral goodbye speech to the disciples on the night before he dies. This is the Last Supper. He's got his close friends gathered around. He's preparing them for his death and what comes next. And he says, do not let your hearts be troubled. But what immediately precedes Jesus saying, do not let your hearts be troubled, is, first of all, Judas betraying him and getting up and leaving. And secondly, Jesus accurately predicting that Peter will deny him. And so here he is with his closest friends. One betrays him, and the other proves that he's going to be wimpy and weak and a coward and not be there when it matters. And yet, rather than Jesus fixing that, solving that, giving them a smack down, kicking their ass, any of that, instead, Jesus says, do not let your hearts be troubled. Believe in God, believe also in me. He carries on. And so I think that quite simply presents us with an opportunity to pray and ponder here in this feasting season of Easter, the greatest celebratory season of the year, where we understand that the Christ pattern is where we think there is only death, there is actually new life. That these words that we consider some of the most comforting words of Jesus, we use this passage from the 14th chapter of John more often than anything else in a funeral because they bring us so much comfort. They immediately follow hearing about human failure, human betrayal, these bad things that can happen. Bad things that happen to good people, things Jesus didn't deserve. And so when we get caught up in our fears, our anxieties, we want to rage at the injustice of the world, Jesus provides us with the way, the truth, and the life in the midst of that, which is to stay the course of the path of love through the very wounds of Christ to the heart of God, rather than the short-term satisfaction that might come from lashing out. That's a hard lesson to learn, an even harder lesson to live out, but nonetheless, a very powerful witness to how Jesus spent his last night with his friends and how that didn't waver despite the behavior of others. So I promised this would be short, so I'm leaving you to ponder the rest. I'm going to end it here. Stay safe, stay sane, and stay connected through the bonds of love. Bye-bye now.